All right, today we're diving into a match that, on paper, looks like a total coin flip. CF Montreal versus Austin FC. The data's all over the place, the teams seem evenly matched, and yet, somehow an AI has made a really bold, counterintuitive call. So let's dig in and find out why.
Yeah, have you ever thought about betting your rent on a coin flip? That's exactly what this matchup feels like. It's a high-stakes gamble where everything just screams 50-50. So the big question is, how on earth does an AI look at this mess and find a clear edge? That's the puzzle we're going to try and solve today.
Okay, so let's break this down. In one corner, you've got Montreal. We're talking a true home fortress. They play that gritty, lunch pail kind of soccer, and, a bunch of the standard analytical models actually have them as the favorite. But then, in the other corner, there's Austin FC. Now, they're dealing with a major injury, but they've got this killer counterattack, and for some bizarre reason, the most advanced AI models are all in on them. See what I mean? It's not just a close match, it's a total contradiction.
So what does the AI think is the single most likely thing to happen? It's a 1-0 win for Austin. The probability? A super specific 9.69%. Okay, but you gotta ask, how close is the runner-up?
Well, here it is. The second most likely result is a 1-0 win for Montreal, sitting at 9.62%. Come on, that's a difference of less than 0.1%. It is, literally, a coin flip. So where in the world is the AI finding that tiny, tiny little edge for Austin? Okay, this is where things get really interesting. See, the AI doesn't just use one simple model. It uses a whole stack of different ones. And right now, well, those models are basically at war with each other.
Just look at this. It's a massive split. You've got five different statistical models, and they're all pointing towards either a draw or a Montreal win. But then you get to the two heavy hitters, the most complex models, the neural net and the final ensemble, and they just completely disagree. They're both pointing pretty decisively to an Austin victory. It's a flat-out contradiction happening right inside the AI's brain.
So, yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? Why would the AI just ignore 5 of its own models and listen to only 2? I know, it sounds kind of nuts, but there's a logic to it, and it all comes down to a hierarchy.
Here's the secret, right? Not all models are created equal. Think of it like this. The simpler models, they see the game in black and white. Just the basic stuff, like goals, shots, saves. But the more advanced models, especially the neural network, they're designed to catch the chaos. They see in color. They can spot all these complex, hidden patterns that the other models just completely miss. And that final stacked ensemble model, it's the ultimate judge, and you better believe it, it's listening very, very carefully to the models that can actually see that chaos.
Okay, so enough with the abstract data for a minute. Let's get back to the real world and talk about the human element. Because, soccer isn't played on a spreadsheet. It's played by real people in real stadiums with real pressure.
Yeah, the kind of venue where visitors forget how to function. That's a quote about Montreal's home stadium, and it's so true. It's a huge factor. You've got the cold air, the intense pressure. The environment itself basically becomes an extra player on the field for them. And that advantage, which you can't really quantify, makes the AI's pick for Austin seem even crazier.
And this is how they play. They call it lunch pail football. And let me tell you, it is not pretty. We're talking a gritty, brawling, in-your-face style that's just designed to frustrate you. They'll use tactical fouls, they'll slow the game down to a crawl, they'll do literally anything to defend their home turf.
And get this, Montreal is coming into this game with a totally clean bill of health, no major injuries. Meanwhile, Austin is missing their star striker, Brandon Vasquez, and he's out for the whole season. So let's just recap for a second. Montreal is at home, they're at full strength, and Austin is seriously handicapped. And the AI still picks Austin to win. Wild.
All right, so we've seen the models fighting with each other. We've seen the real-world challenges. So how in the world does the AI put all of this together and make a final decision? Let's unpack that verdict.
The secret sauce is something called the stacked ensemble. It's basically a model of models, and it acts like the final judge and jury. It doesn't just count up the votes from the other models. No, it weighs them. It listens to what the simple models have to say, but it gives way more authority to that neural network, the one that sees the chaos, so it can make a much smarter, more nuanced decision.
And that final decision? It's a 1-0 victory for the visiting team, Austin FC. After weighing all the data, the home field advantage, even the big injury, the system's smartest layer decided that Austin's counterattack is the secret weapon,
that it's just strong enough to overcome all the odds and steal a win on the road. And this really shows you just how paper-thin these margins are. That 0-1 Austin win is the most likely single outcome, yeah, but a 1-0 Montreal win is nipping at its heels. The bigger picture here is pretty obvious, though. The AI is really confident this is going to be a low-scoring game. It's not expecting a lot of goals at all.
Okay, so what do we do with all this? What's the big takeaway? How do you turn all this complicated analysis into something practical? Let's talk about where the AI's prediction actually points to a potential edge.
So the analysis really highlights a few key spots. First, there's the Austin draw no bet. That's where your bet is returned if the game ends in a draw, so it's a much safer route. Then, betting on under 2.5 goals is another big one, and it's totally backed up by the data. And hey, if you want to get really specific, you could even cover both the 1-0 and 0-1 scorelines, basically betting on the two most likely things to happen.
You could even roll these ideas together into a parlay. A strategy like this basically tells the exact story the AI is predicting. A low-scoring, defensive slugfest where at least one team doesn't score and the game ends in one of those two most likely results. It's a whole strategy built around that one core idea of a super tight one-goal match.
And like the source material says, this isn't a shovel match. You don't just go in and bet big. The margins are way too thin for that. This is a scalpel match. It's all about precision.
So there you have it. That's the story. You have an AI that has looked through all the noise, all the chaos, and made this really counterintuitive call for a Texas triumph. All the data points to Austin, but that human element, that thing you can't really measure, that Montreal fortress, it's still standing in the way. So the big question is, which one is going to break first, the fortress or the algorithm?